This is your Daily 5 for Monday, June 29th, 2026. For the month of July, we've decided not to really do a theme specifically. Now, I am going to try to have the two movies we watch each week feel somewhat related, but there will be no overall theme. We're just taking a break from that. We will come back with themes, I know it for sure, but just not for this month. And the first movie, this was a real just out of nowhere pick. I had happened to see a video where somebody was talking about underrated. Couldn't come up with the second part. Underrated cyberpunk films of the 90s that got overshadowed by films like The Matrix. And I always am kind of a sucker for those because I know there was a lot of stuff that came out in the late 80s, early 90s in the science fiction genre specifically that I missed and would like to see. Unlike a lot of the horror movies, which I feel like lost a lot of their steam as they moved into the 90s and then the 2000s, science fiction was still very experimental. There was still a lot of really weird stuff coming out, and so I keep an eye out for these things. And in this video, almost everything in the list I'd already seen or knew what it was, but there was one film that I had never heard of, never seen, even though I was familiar with the main actor and somewhat knew the filmography, but it was 1997's Nirvana, starring Christopher Lambert. Now, this is an Italian film, which, hey, but I'd never heard of it. And from what I have read, most of the way that you would see this movie, if you had ever seen it at all, most people would have encountered it as a cut US version that's about 15 minutes shorter. And so I found the Italian version and the subtitles for it. Not the best quality because it's just not easy to find, although I did find a UK Blu-ray of it that I have purchased and is coming via eBay, so that will be happening. But I basically found the movie, and found a copy with subtitles that are pretty good, and we loaded it up, and honestly, I was just hoping that it would be a delightful 90s version of Cyberpunk with some neat sets, probably some bad CG and not much else. And Christopher Lambert is generally very entertaining, both in good ways and in bad ways, meaning even when he's at his worst, he's usually worth watching. And that's all I went into this thing expecting. And Lando didn't know anything about it either, which kind of surprised me because there's been these pockets of movies, specifically like science fiction type of stuff, where Lando will say, oh yeah, I sort of remember this, and I watched it and I remember liking it or whatever, but he was completely blank on this one too, so we really didn't know what to expect. And by the end, we were both really floored. I think Lando's comment, and it might be when we talk about it on Friday, I believe he said something along the lines of, this is the best cyberpunk film I've seen in quite a while. And I would absolutely agree. I was looking for ways to buy this movie about 15 minutes in. Now, Lando took a little longer to convince, but just looking at it, I knew I wanted to have a better copy of this, and I knew there probably was a better copy, just not a American release, and that's fine. I don't care. But this is a movie that, I don't know how I never heard of it, and I think Lando would say the same thing, because this should have been on our radar. It feels like there's almost no CG in it, and the CG that's used is fine to be dated to the mid-90s because the way in which it's used is to display a video game world, and therefore reality doesn't matter. It really doesn't, especially with what the story this is trying to tell. But this has a beautiful amount of set design, lots of different locations, really wild and interesting practical effects. It is just a dynamite film, and I don't know, again, how neither of us, one of us at least, it would have made sense had heard of it, maybe not the other. But the fact that neither of us knew anything about this movie is just shocking to me because, man, oh man, we had such a blast with this movie. If you are into cyberpunk at all, or science fiction really, you should find a copy of this movie. I've seen some on Video Motion, that type of thing. You can find it. It's not the easiest thing, but find the longer cut, which is just short of 2 hours. It's going to be subtitled because in Italian, but make a point of watching this movie because it is so much better than you might think, looking at when it came from, the fact that you've never heard of it. There's a number of reasons why, looking at it on the surface level, you might think, okay, this is probably very forgettable or not that good. But let me tell you something, and Lando agrees. Like I said, we'll talk about it on Friday, but 1997's Nirvana is a true example of an overshadowed and underappreciated gem. Watch it as soon as you can. Later.